أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان الشمس والقمر بحسبان والنجم والشجر يسجدان والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان ألا تطغوا في الميزان وأقيموا الوزن بالقسط ولا تخسروا الميزان والأرض وضعها للأنام فيها فاكهة والنخل ذات الأكمام والحب ذو العصف والريحان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان خلق الإنسان من صلصال كالفخار وخلق الجان من مارج من نار فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان رب المشرقين ورب المغربين فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان مرج البحرين يلتقيان بينهما برزخ لا يبغيان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يخرج منهما اللؤلؤ والمرجان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان وله الجوار المنشآت في البحر كالأعلام فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يسأله من في السماوات والأرض كل يوم هو في شأن فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان سنفرغ لكم أيها الثقلان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يا معشر الجن والإنس إن استطعتم أن تنفذوا من أقطار السماوات والأرض فانفذوا لا تنفذون إلا بسلطان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يرسل عليكما شواظ من نار ونحاس فلا تنتصران فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فإذا انشقت السماء فكانت وردة كالدحان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيومئذ لا يسأل عن ذنبه إنس ولا جان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يعرف المجرمون بسيماهم فيؤخذوا بالنواصي والأقدام فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان هذه جهنم التي يكذب بها المجرمون يطوفون بينها وبين حميم آن فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان ولمن خاف مقام ربي جنتان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان ذواتا أفنان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيهما عينان تجريان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيهما من كل فاكهة زوجان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان متكئين على فرش بطائنها من استبرق وجنى الجنتين دان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيهن كاسرات الطرف لم يطمثهن إنس قبلهم ولا جان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان كأنهن الياقوت والمرجان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان هل جزاء الإحسان إلا الإحسان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان ومن دونهما جنتان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان مدحامتان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيهما عينان نضاختان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيهما فاكهة ونخل والرمان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيهن خيرات حسان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان حور مكسورات في الخدبان لم يطمثهن إنس قبلهم ولا جان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان متكئين على رفرف خضر وعبقري حسان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان تبارك اسم ربك ذي الجلال والإكرام صدق الله العلي العظيم اللهم صل على رحم الله من قرأ سورة مباركة الفاتحة.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عن جابر عن جابر بن عبد الله الأنصار أنه قال عن فاطمة الزهراء عليه السلام بنت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله قال سمعت فاطمة أنها قالت دخل علي برسول الله في بعض الأيام فقال السلام عليك يا فاطمة فقلت عليك السلام قال إني أجد في بدني ضعفا فقلت له أعوذك بالله يا أبتاه من الضعف فقال يا فاطمة ائتيني بالكساء اليماني فغطيني به فأتيته بالكساء اليماني فغطيته به وصرت أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه يتلاله كأنه البدر في ليلة تمامه وكماله فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسن قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أماه فقلت وعليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي فقال يا أماه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله فقلت نعم إن جدك تحت الكساء فأقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جدا يا رسول الله أتأذن لي أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا صاحب حوضي قد أذنت لك فدخل معه تحت الكساء فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسين قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أماه فقلت وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي فقال لي يا أماه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله فقلت نعم إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء فنادى الحسين نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جدا السلام عليك يا من اختار الله أتأذن لي أن أكون معكما تحت الكساء فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شافي أمتي قد أذنت لك فدخل معهما تحت الكساء فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله فقلت عليك السلام يا أبا الحسن يا أمير المؤمنين فقال يا فاطمة إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابني عمي رسول الله فقلت نعم هو ما ولديك تحت الكساء فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء قال له عليك السلام يا أخي ويا وصيي وخليفتي وصاحب لوائي قد أذنت لك فدخل علي تحت الكساء ثم أتيت نحو الكساء وقلت السلام عليك يا أبتاه يا رسول الله أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء قال وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بذأتي قد أذنت لك فدخلت تحت الكساء فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ بي رسول الله بطرف الكساء وأومأ بيده اليمنى إلى السماء وقال اللهم إن هؤلاء أهل بيتي وخاصتي وحامتي لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي يؤلمني ما يؤلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم أنا حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن سالمهم وعدو لمن عاداهم ومحب لمن أحبهم إنهم مني وأنا منهم فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم وأذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. فقال الله عز وجل يا ملائكتي ويا سكان السماوات إني ما خلقت سماء مبنيا ولا أرضا مدهيا ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيئا ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. فقال الأمين جبرائيل يا ربي ومن تحت الكساء؟ فقال عز وجل هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة هم فاطمة وأبوها وبألها وبنوها. تأذن لي أن أهبط إلى الأرض ليكون معهم سادسا. فقال الله نعم قد أذنت لك. فهبط الأمين جبرائيل وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله العلي الأعلى يقرئك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت سماء مبنيا ولا أرضا مدحيا ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيئا ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم فهل تأذن لي يا رسول الله؟ فقال رسول الله وعليك السلام يا أمين وحي الله إنه نعم قد أذنت لك. فدخل جبرائيل معنا تحت الكساء فقال لي أبي إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. فقال علي لأبي يا رسول الله أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل الأهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وحفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى أن يتفرقوا. فقال علي إذن والله فزنا وفاز شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال النبي ثانيا يا علي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل وفيهم محموم إلا وفرج الله هما ولا مغموم إلا وكشف الله غما ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضى الله حاجته فقال علي إذا والله فزنا وسعدنا وكذلك شيعتنا فازوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة.
أفضل الصلاة محمد وآل محمد صلوا على محمد. Sayyid Shabbir Kirmani, respected elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum jamiyan wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Surah Fatiha is requested for the Isale Sawab of Marhumin listed on the screen, and for all Marhumin, Al-Fatiha. Bismillah. Amma Yujibu is requested for the names listed on the screen, and for all those in need here and elsewhere. Let's recite together 5 times Amma Yujibu. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Amma Yujibul Mustarra iza da'a wa yakshifu as-su'. أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. On Monday, February 14th, we will celebrate the birth of our holy Imam, Hazrat Imam Ali alayhi salam. The program will start at 7 p.m. with Niyaz, and Sayyid Shabbir will talk about Ali, the universal champion of humanity. On Wednesday, February 16, we will commemorate the wafat of Bibi Zainab alayha salam, starting at 7 p.m. with Niyaz. The topic that Sayyid Shabbir will cover is Sayyida Zainab, the lioness of Sham. Adopt a park cleanup. Please join us as we visit our adopted park, Lee P. Moore Park, for our next visit on Saturday, February 12th. This will be our quarterly commitment to maintain and clean it in the name of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. We will be meeting there from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. To register, please go to the site shown on the screen. Youth and Who is Hussain collaboration, helping the homeless plus game night. The youth, in collaboration with Who is Hussain, have planned to make packages for the homeless on Saturday, February 19th from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. It will also be a game night, and they will have a back sale, the proceeds of which will go to the homeless. A pizza dinner will be served. All youths ages 12 to 25 are invited to join. To RSVP, please message the number on the screen. Homes Ijaza. We wish to inform you that we continue to have official authorization to collect homes dues to be used fully towards the running and maintenance of Masjid al-Hayy. You may fulfill your obligated religious dues by generously supporting Masjid al-Hayy. At this time, I would like to invite Sayyid Shabbir to recite tonight's Majlis. Salawat ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فوض أمري إلى الله إن الله بصير بالعباد ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل ونعم المولى ونعم النصير والصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على الرسول المسدد المصطفى الأمجد المحمود الأحمد الذي سمي في السماء بأحمد وفي الأرض بأبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين المنتجبين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا اللهم صل على محمد وقل رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتاب الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنما يخشى الله من عباده العلماء صدق الله العلي العظيم. زينوا مجالسكم بالصلوات على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على. My respected elders, brothers and sisters in Iman here in Florida, across the globe, wherever you're hearing my voice, Salamun alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Question: what is true piety? We're told there's a moment in time where the ruler of the time, who is ruling over a vast empire, he is going with his entourage. His people are on his left and his right, and they are in front of him, they are behind him, and they are all going together with the pomp of the era and the time. And when they go at that point in time, when they are going for hunting. And when they are going for hunting at this point in time, the narration says that when he passes by, the ruler and his entourage passes by a particular location, the children that are playing in the road, as we would call it, they begin to disperse and go left and right and they get out of the way. But there is one young boy at that point in time who does not move. The ruler, he's surprised by this action, that everyone may Allah bless all those who commemorate the Imam. What I mean is, this Imam lived a very short span of life. He only lived up until the age of 25. He was very young when he departed this world. And he took on the mantle of Imamat at the age of 8 years old. So he started very young, and his life also culminated at a very young age. What are the lessons that we can get from the Imam's life? And one of the overarching themes that I want us to understand is the piety and the knowledge of the Imam. And what is the relationship between the two? In the Islamic view, piety, that is taqwa, that is God consciousness, that is doing the right thing, and knowledge are not separated. They are connected and joined at the hip, as we would say. Therefore, on that basis, what is the connection between knowledge and piety, and how did the Imam exhibit this in his life? Number two, who were the Imam's parents? Who was his father? Who was his mother? When was he born? What era and time? These particularities we'll cover very quickly. Number three, when was the Imam's knowledge exhibited? When did the Imam show his knowledge and showcase it? At a young age, making it clear that the Ahlul Bayt are not dependent and they are not contingent upon being of a very old age in order to have knowledge. At the fourth level, we'll look at the Imam alayhi salam in terms of his solving problems for the people of that era and for this time as well. And finally, we will commemorate and remember the Ahlul Bayt with some poetry, inshallah. This is our agenda for tonight. Wherever you are, here in Florida or across the globe, wherever you are hearing my voice, from the bottom of your heart, send a salawat on Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. At the first level, the father of our blessed ninth Imam, of course, is the eighth Imam, Imam Ali al-Ridha. Now, this particular Imam, the ninth Imam who we are commemorating tonight, he solved a big conundrum and a big issue that was going on for the Shia of that time. What was that issue? According to the narrations, our eighth Imam, he did not have an heir apparent, he did not have a son, he did not have an inheritor until a very old age. Relatively speaking. The Imam had reached the age of his mid-40s, the riwayat say. And at the age of mid-40s, he still had not had a child. So the Shia of that time are thinking, hold on, the Imamate continues through the lineage and the progeny of the Ahlul Bayt. But this Imam, he doesn't have a heir apparent, he doesn't have a male inheritor, he doesn't have a son who will carry on this message. And so at that point in time, people began to doubt. Some people began to doubt. Does Shiaism end here with the eighth Imam? Is it over? So their groups formed. There were others who were trying to take advantage of this situation. In fact, some narrations say the eighth Imam's own brothers tried to take advantage. Why? Because they started to say that if the Imam passes away without an inheritor, he doesn't have children, then we may also get some of the inheritance, possibly. This is something that the scholars have mentioned with respect to this. But when the Shia began to come to the eighth Imam, they said, Yabna Rasulullah, you're in your mid-40s, you haven't had a child. What will happen of Shiaism? Will it continue? Will it stop? At that point in time, the Imam said, be patient. Allah has a plan. Insha'Allah, everything will be taken care of. Worry not. And of course, with the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Imam was blessed with a beautiful son. And that son took on that mantle. This was the one Imam who another Imam said, his coming into this world is a tremendous barakah. Of course, the Imams, all of them are a barakah. But they have this statement from the Ahlul Bayt, one Imam saying about another, and a ma'soom does not do exaggeration. This is a statement about the honor and the prestige that the ulama have commented on about Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam. Now, who is the mother of Imam al-Jawad? The mother of Imam al-Jawad is known as Bibi Sabika and Nobiya. And this is a person who was from, her last name indicates that she was from Nubia. Nubia was that region that was from Egypt in the north down to Sudan in modern times. On the east you had the Red Sea, and on the west you had Libya in this region. It's in northern Africa. Nubia in modern day and age stretched from Egypt to Sudan. So many scholars have said that the mother of our ninth Imam, in terms of her complexion, she was darker skinned. She was from modern day Sudan. Now, whether the complexion of the Ahlul Bayt is light or dark does not matter. Because remember, we as followers of the Ahlul Bayt are the followers of Rasulullah. And kulluna Muhammad, akhurna, awwalana, kulluna Muhammad. And Rasulullah is the one who is documented according to the Amir Stein Institute. Obviously not a Muslim institute. Amir Stein Institute saying the first documented anti-racist in history is Rasulullah. So that message that we get from the life of this Imam is even, forget racism, that's too far. But even colorism we should be careful of. You know this concept of colorism? Colorism is where you're from the same race, you're the same people, but you give a preference to a certain complexion over another complexion. Unfortunately, this still happens. You know, insan is ajib. People are ajib. They will find some way to try to establish and think they are superior to others. No one will suspect, how is it possible that I have my own daughter, whose name was al-Fadl, married to Muhammad ibn Ali? Then no one will suspect that I'm the one who actually killed him. So when he decided to do this, he got all his wazirs around him. You know, the advisors, the councilmen. He got all the advisors and the wazirs around him. He said, look, this is my decision. I am going to have my daughter, al-Fadl, marry the son of Ridha, the son Ibn Ridha. They said, hold on a second. How old is he? He's so young. Imam was born in 195 AH. 10th of Rajab, 195 AH, the 9th Imam was born. And he died, according to the narrations, on 220 AH. So 195, 220, do the math, 25 years he lived on this planet physically. He said, according to the narrations, he was very young. He was roughly 8 or 9 years old at that time. Very young. Now, by the way, for those who you may say that, how can arrangements of marriage be made? Very young. If you go to, for example, Australia, and you see the Aborigines in Australia, they beat out everyone. They make the relationships or the rishtas or who is going to get married, they decide it at birth. The parents come together and they say, this child will marry the other child. Of course, they don't get married right away, but the decision has been made at that point in time. Similarly, the decision was made at a younger age with respect to the Imam. Ma'mun says, I've made this decision. He said, hold on a second. You're going to marry your daughter who has all this prestige, all this honor, all this dignity. You're going to marry her to this individual who's only a young boy, in their eyes a young boy. He said, at least, what people are going to say, this person, what is wrong with you? You're the ruler, you're supposed to be the most intelligent person, you're supposed to be the ruling this empire, and you're making this type of decision. They were against it. They said, look, at least do this. Bring the boy into your house, train him, teach him, educate him, and as time progresses, then people will begin to realize that you've educated him, and now he's able to fulfill this role. The rulers were very smart. The people in the seat, they knew. He said, look, you don't know him. I know him. He says, look, you want to know? Test him. Ma'mun says, test him. Have a debate. You want to know how knowledgeable he is? Test him, you're welcome to. It's clear to me, Ma'mun saying, I know that you don't know how knowledgeable this, you're thinking is a boy. I'm telling you, this family is not the ordinary family. They said, very well. He said, who shall we call? They called Yahya bin Aktham. Yahya bin Aktham was the biggest scholar of the time. He was the chief justice of the entire empire. So he's someone who had the most knowledge and prestige at the time. So they called him, they got the whole court ready. They called Yahya bin Aktham, all the other councilmen and all the other advisors are there. And on the other side they call Imam Jawad, who's just young at that point in time. Ma'mun looks towards Yahya. He says, proceed to ask this boy a question. However, make sure you ask permission first. Yahya is shocked. He said, you want me, the big chief justice, to ask this boy for permission? He says, yes. He says, okay, very well. He says, young man, do I have the permission to ask you some questions? The Imam says, very well, please proceed, you're welcome to. So what question can I ask him? And he's saying that, this is not just a boy, so he says, let me think of a question. According to our scholars, one of the most difficult aspects of fiqh and jurisprudence are the ihkam of Hajj. Hajj in particular, the kafaras and these things, this is one of the most difficult bab of fiqh. Yahya thought, let me ask him something from there and see and test where is his thought process, where is his mind at. He said, the question that I have, Yahya looks towards the Imam, he says, young man, the question that I have for you is the following, and that is, what is the kafara of the one who, while in a state of ihram, goes hunting? As you know, in a state of ihram, you are not supposed to go hunting. Any animal, obviously, a creature of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there has to be a penalty of that. So the whole court is looking towards Imam Jawad, this young boy who's roughly 8 or 9 years old. The Imam very calmly says, your question is incomplete. My question's incomplete. What do you mean? Yahya is saying, what? He says, look, you have not given enough detail. This is a huge point of wisdom. This can solve many problems when you have deals, whether it's business or life in general. One of the biggest things that people who excel in life is they ask questions to clarify matters. We often assume. Someone says something to me, I assume something, I pass it on to someone, I assume something, I pass something on. And then we derive our own interpretation of what this means. Sometimes, for example, I may look at someone in a particular way. Maybe I'm thinking I'm worried about, something down the road, what bill I have to pay. I'm worried about, something that's happened the other day. And you're thinking I'm upset because I'm looking at you. And you're the last person who's on my mind. I have nothing but affection for you. Sometimes you can clarify these matters with questions. Anyways, the Imam says, look, your question is incomplete. He says, what do you mean? He says, you did not tell me when did this happen. You did not tell me where specifically did this happen. You did not tell me specifically why did this happen. You did not tell me with which creation of Allah did it happen. For example, you did not tell me when did this happen. Did this happen in the day or in the night? Different answers. You did not tell me, for example, there's more questions, that did this happen in the haram or outside of it? Did it happen in the sanctuary of Mecca or outside of it? Number 3, was this in Hajj ihram or Umrah ihram? Was it Hajj or Umrah? Which one? You need to tell me and clarify which one that is. Number 4, was this someone who had done this before, or this was his first time committing this offense? Was he knowledgeable about this issue or not knowledgeable about this issue? And the Imam kept going about one after the other, deciphering and dissecting his initial question, saying there's so many different chapters that open from each one of your questions. Scholars say up to 17 or 20 or even more than that, the Imam was able to ask counter questions. By the way, based on these counter questions, many of the ulama of Shia and Sunni fiqh were able to answer these questions. They had not come to many people's minds. Yahya was shocked and baffled. Who is this young man who's able to dissect one question into so many different branches? This is not a normal individual. This is not a child. And this is a longer debate, which of course I don't have the time to discuss. But at that point in time, Yahya understood, this is not your average run-of-the-mill young man. This is not your average run-of-the-mill young boy. According to the narrations, when the arrangements were made and some time passed, the decision was made, al-Fadl, the daughter of the ruler, will marry Imam Jawad. When the marriage took place, they moved to Medina. Now remember, Ma'mun had moved the capital from Marv in modern-day Iran, modern-day Persia. He moved it from there towards Baghdad in modern-day Iraq. As you know, Imam al-Rida was martyred he's buried in Khurasan in modern-day Iran. So from Marv, he moved it towards Baghdad. And this debate took place in Baghdad. But after the arrangements of the marriage were made, they moved back towards Medina. Now, there's an instant, and now I'm getting to the issue of what is piety, what is knowledge in the eyes of Allah. We just gave an example of knowledge of the Imam at such a young age, the divine knowledge that was inspired in the life of the Imam. But what is the relation and the connection between piety and knowledge? Answer, the Quran. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Innama yakhsha Allah min ibadihi al-ulama, the Quran says. Number one, when you study the Quran, there are certain terms that they are exclusive terms. Meaning what? Exclusive terms meaning this if and only if. Or for example, this will never happen. For example, lan tarani. When you see the one lan tarani or lan fisama laha, lan, that is a term that it will never happen. Musa says to Allah that I want to see you. Ya Allah, allow me to see you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds to Musa, Kalim Allah. He says, lan tarani, you will never see me. Similarly, innama means only in this instance and no other instance. Allah is saying, Innama yakhsha Allah min ibadihi al-ulama. Allah is giving the definition of who are the ulama, the scholars in Allah's eyes, metaphorically. Who? The one who are the ulama in the eyes of Allah are only the ones who have khashya of Allah, who have fear and cognizance of Allah, mindfulness of Allah. They are afraid of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for lack of a better term. So taqwa and knowledge are tied at the hip. If someone is saying that, for example, they have knowledge but they do not have taqwa, the scholars, as per the tradition of Ahlul Bayt and the Quran, they don't really have true knowledge. So it's vital to have khashya and to have that consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why do I say that? There was a companion of the ninth Imam, Imam Jawad. This Imam's companion who comes forward and he says, I went to visit the Imam. He says, I wanted to visit the Imam and I thought he's now married al-Fadl, who's the daughter of the ruler of the time, Ma'mun al-Abbasi. So now the Imam is part of royalty, so to speak. So I thought, has the Imam changed maybe? So I visited the house of the Imam, and the Imam welcomed me in. And the Imam invited me to sit down, and I sat down, and the Imam sat down. And at that point in time, he says, I felt thirst overcome me. I felt very thirsty. He said, when I felt very thirsty at that point in time, this is a point that the narrators mention and the ulama mention. The people, the Shia had such an adab of the Imam that they would never try to tell the Imam, for example, give me water or something like that, out of the respect of the position of the Imam. And he thought to himself, just within his own heart and mind, he's thinking, maybe he's changed, that if I ask him for water, look at it, his prestige has gone up overnight in the eyes of the people. Not, of course, in Allah's eyes. Allah's eyes is, in the eyes of the people, his prestige is gone because he's part of the royal family now. He said, I can't trouble him for water, but his thirst was killing him. The Imam looked at him and he called for his servant. He says, can you please bring water for our guest? He hasn't said anything. One time. A few minutes pass. They continue their conversation. He calls the servant once again. Can you please get water for our guest? Second time. No response. A few minutes pass. Third time. Can you please get water for our guest? He calls the servant. No response. Maybe they're busy. Maybe they're doing something else. This companion says, I noticed after a few minutes the Imam got up himself. He went and he got a glass of water and he brought it for me. And he looked towards me and he gave it to me. And he says, you thought that perhaps we've changed. But remember, us Ahlul Bayt, we are not those who change by getting a seat here and there. We are the people who are the Imams of the people. And whether we are in the seat or not does not matter. You see the humility of the Imam, the position of the Imam, the leadership of the Imam to help people realize that look, the knowledge that the Imam was spreading through his taqwa, through his piety, and the explicit knowledge that he spread in the debates. And at the same time, this Imam is so humble that he's offering water. Do you know how much thawab, as a message for you and I, it is to give water to another believer? Do you know how much thawab and ajr it is to give water to your spouse, for example? Do you know that the only thing that you are allowed to ask, a child is allowed to ask their parents to do, is to ask them to give them a cup of water? Because of the thawab. Don't, by the way, all go and ask your parents for water tonight. But what I'm saying is, that's how much fadila to do these small things. We think true piety, we think true generosity is big things. We have to write big checks and we have to do big things. No, if you do the small things, you can go very far in life. Generosity, maybe to just give a smile to someone. Has Rasulullah not said that a smile is a form of generosity? My dear brothers and sisters, bring this love and compassion into your lives, into your family life, into your community life. You know, one thing that's so important to do, it costs nothing, but it's the most valuable thing. Do you know what that is? Appreciation. There's only two things that if you know this in life, you can go very far in your relationships in life. Personal, community, business, otherwise. Respect and appreciation. They cost nothing, but they buy everything. There was a study done at Arizona State University, which I often mention, that looked at relationships, husband and wife couples. They asked people, do you appreciate the things that your husband or your wife does in the house? For example, doing the dishes, cooking food, all the things. Do you appreciate it? Everyone in the study said, yes, of course we appreciate them. You know, doing the dishes, cooking the food, cleaning, whatever they do, we appreciate it. The second question was, do you tell them that you appreciate them? Nobody told them. They said, no. How is that person supposed to know? Is Jibreel going to come? Mikael going to come tell them? Tell them. Imam Al-Kadhim says, when you love someone, when you have affection for someone, a brother in Islam, tell them that you have affection for them, because that brings the hearts nearer. Do you know one epidemic that we're facing nationally and internationally in our community, the Shia community? Do you know one thing that has not been discussed? Because no one's there to discuss it. I'm discussing this because not only have I been lecturing, I've also been able to be on management committees in the past. Do you know one of the biggest issues that people, when I travel, they put their hand on their heart and they tell me when we're going to the mosque and other places? We're facing a big issue of leadership burnout, management burnout. When you get in a position of leadership, oftentimes we are very quick to criticize people, but we don't stop to appreciate. Often it's a thankless job. And we oftentimes criticize. That goes from the top to the bottom. Those people who volunteer, those people, do we have, for example, volunteer appreciation days? Do we have a day? Or other people? You may say that, for example, even if you're paying someone, for example, do you know the modern studies in organizational development? My dear brothers and sisters, if you have businesses, if you have companies, if you're managers, please read organizational development. Organizational development is applying psychology to the business field. Do you know that if you show appreciation to your employees, to the people who work with you or for you, they will go and move mountains for you? We often think of an old model of leadership, an old model of management. That's hard, big stick leadership. That doesn't work in the modern era. That's why there's many of these issues. Imam is teaching us what's coming back to the Imam very quickly. The Imam is teaching us piety and knowledge and humility in life. Do good to others. Be generous through your words, through your smiles, through your kindness. Make this a place, the mosque, a place where people come, they see others, they're happy, they're jubilant. To remove the distress of a believer is a huge ibadah. Do you know how much ajr? You may spend the nights and the days in the prayer niche and praying day and night, but the thawab and the ajr that may be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the Day of Judgment is your removing the stress from the life of another believer. We often forget huquq an-nas, we forget the rights of other believers and other people on this planet. Do you know how much emphasis Allah gave on that? Allah may forgive hukuk Allah. He may forgive that salah that I missed. I'm not recommending anyone miss anyone's salah. Allah may forgive that. But when it comes to other people's rights, Allah may say, did you ask that person first? Before you broke their heart? Before you induced stress on that? Do you know that I know leaders who've had heart attacks because of the issues that they had to face at a communal level? By the way, not everyone's good, not everyone's bad. People are very complex. People are like 3D chess. I'm not recommending anyone plays chess, but I'm giving the example. 3-dimensional chess. Sometimes they have good days, sometimes they have bad days. Be kind, be compassionate. You don't know the difficulty someone may be going through. The Imams teach us this through their akhlaq. The Imams teach us. I give a further example. We're told there's a moment in time, during the time of Imam Jawad, there comes an issue where a thief has come. They've caught a thief. And they're debating what is the punishment that should be given to this thief. Remember, the Ahlul Bayt were people who went very quickly. They were not very quick and very rushing into judgment and doing permanent damage to people. What do I mean? There's a tradition of the Imam that I want to share with you. The Imam Jawad says, the one who does 3 things will not have regret. What are the 3 things? The tradition of the Imam. He says, the one who does not rush into decisions. They're calm. They don't rush into decisions. Number 1. Number 2, the one who takes counsel, seek advice from experts, from people who have been down that line. Take advice from them. And number 3, the one who trusts Allah. Do these three things. Don't rush, don't haste. For example, take advice from experts and counsel from them and trust Allah, you will not regret. Why? The issue came up, a thief comes into the court, they said, what is the verdict? They said, we must cut his hand. So they had the different scholars there. They said, where should we cut? One of them says, we cut from the wrist. Another one says, no, we cut from the elbow. The other one said, no, we cut from the arm, higher. Now this thief is saying, oh my God. By the way, in Islamic law, from our viewpoint, Amir al-Mu'mineen made this clear in his time. Our Ahlul Bayt were not so quick to remove someone's hand very quickly. Remember, don't rush to it, don't hasten. There are 19 questions that you have to ask before doing this. For example, was the person hungry or not? Did he have food or not? Was his family hungry or not? For example, did he know the rule or not? 19 questions exist. Then the Imam came forward and said, what's the answer, Yabna Rasulillah? He says, remember, there are 7 places where Allah said they must touch the ground when you are in worship and ibadah. You must have the knees, the 2 toes, you must have the palms and the forehead. These must touch the ground. If you cut off the hand, he is not able to do sajda, sujood. This person, look at what the Imam is saying, that you are trying to punish and condemn him for the rest of his life, where Allah has rahmah. At a societal level, yes, you need societal balance and stability, but still that person has the right to ask forgiveness in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You cannot remove from him the right to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, only the fingers are to be removed. And even some scholars have said, according to traditional al-Bayt, that too, after all the conditions have been met, only this part of the finger is to be cut. And that too only in Islamic state and republic. We don't practice vigilantism where you go impose this in any society. This is some of the questions, the issues that arise in our world and our society, so that we know from the life of the Imam. The Imam is in Medina, and after him, Mu'tasim, the brother of Ma'mun, comes to power, and he calls the Imam from Medina, he calls him towards Baghdad. Now this was in 218 Hijrah. 218 is 2 years before the Imam died. Because he had a plot and he had a plan in order to kill the Imam. That was his goal and that was his vision. He found out that the Imam's own wife, al-Fadl, did not like him. And he made a plot, which we'll discuss inshallah in the month, Shahadat. So the Imam, our Imam Jawad, married Bibi Sumana al-Maghribiya. His mother was Bibi Sabika, a Nobia. So Bibi Sabika was from the same village as Maria al-Qubtiya. You know Maria al-Qubtiya, who was the wife of Rasulullah, who gave him a son Ibrahim, who passed away in infancy. She was from the same village. That was Bibi Sabika, the mother of Imam Jawad. Imam Jawad's wife, through which the lineage continued and Imam Hadi continued, was Bibi Sumana al-Maghribiya. Nonetheless, at that point in time, he made all the arrangements for the Imam to depart from this world. The Imam has given us true wisdom, and he has kept the boat and the ship of Tashayyu sailing in one of the most turbulent times, and we owe this Imam a tremendous debt. I just wanted to finish, inshallah, and conclude with some poetry in honor of the Ahlul Bayt for the next 1 or 2 minutes at the most, in honor of Hazrat Ali al-Asghar, who we were to commemorate last night based on his Wiladat. Ali al-Asghar is the 6-month-old child of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, who is known as Abdullah Radhi in the Arab community, in Arab culture. And this individual is Babul Hawaij according to the narrations. You see how Imam Musa al-Kazim is Babul Hawaij, has Abul Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam is Babul Hawaij. The same way the 6-month-old child of Aba Abdullah is Babul Hawaij. What is the position? What is the maqam of this individual? What is the prestige of this individual? The words become, in fact, writers, historians have said that French writers who are not even Muslims have written verses of poetry in honor of Ali al-Asghar.
At-Taqi al-Jawad, salawatullahi salamu alayhi. We are pleased to announce the following engagement. Mikhail Mukhi, son of Farhana Asaria, Sajjad and Nabila Zera Mukhi of Orlando, Florida, to Anum Sheikh, daughter of Aisha, and Dr. Nadeem Sheikh of Longwood, Florida. On behalf of the entire community, we wish the newly engaged couples much blessings and success. Please recite a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أفضل الصلاة محمد وآل محمد. Many congratulations to all of you on these blessed nights, especially these first few nights of the month of Rajab. عید آئی ہے رجب شعبان کی، عید آئی ہے رجب شعبان کی، عید آئی ہے رجب شعبان کی، عید آئی ہے رجب شعبان کی. 3 پسر ہے حیدر کے، تینوں رجب میں آئے ہیں. 3 پسر ہے حیدر کے، تینوں رجب میں آئے ہیں. آمد باقر ہوئی پہلی رجب کو مرحبا، 5ویں آئی رجب آئے نکی صلی علی. 10ویں رجب کو آئے تقی کہتے ہیں جنہیں فرزند رضا. یہ تجلی ہے دل عمران کی، عید آئی ہے رجب شعبان کی، عید آئی ہے رجب شعبان کی، عید آئی ہے رجب شعبان کی. 9 رجب کو آئے ہے اصغر بن شاہ ہدا. 9 رجب کو آئے ہے اصغر بن شاہ ہدا. آ گیا زہرا کے گلشن میں گلے رباب. 3 باب الحوائج کا ملا جس کو خطاب. عرش پہ قدسی جھوم رہے ہیں اور زمین پہ بو تراب. جان ہے یہ سید ذی شان کی، عید آئی ہے رجب شعبان کی، عید آئی ہے رجب شعبان کی، عید آئی ہے رجب شعبان کی. 13 رجب کو آئے علی، 13 رجب کو آئے علی، 13 رجب کو آئے علی، 13 رجب کو آئے علی. وہ جہاں میں آ گیا جو ہو گیا غالب لقب. آمد بنت اسد پر شک ہوئی دیوار جب. خوش ہوا کعبہ اور پیمبر بولے ابو طالب کے لب. یہ پسر تصویر ہے سبحان کی یا علی یہ پسر تصویر ہے سبحان کی عید آئی ہے رجب شعبان کی عید آئی ہے رجب شعبان کی عید آئی ہے رجب شعبان کی افضل الصلاة محمد وآل Muhammad. Our blessings and salutations be upon our blessed ninth Imam on this occasion of his birth, and our blessings and salutations be upon his great-grandson, Imam al-Mahdi Sahib al-Asri wal-Zaman, on the birth of his great-grandfather, the ninth Imam. Inshallah, may we be amongst those who are there to witness his coming and to gaze upon the face of our beloved Imam. کاش میں مہدی دوران کا زمانہ دیکھوں کاش میں مہدی دوران کا زمانہ دیکھوں باروے ہے در کرار کا چہرہ دیکھو کاش میں مہدی دوران پھر اذان علی اکبر سے ہو آغاز سحر پھر اذان علی اکبر سے ہو آغاز سحر پیچھے مہدی کہ میں عیسیٰ کا مصلی دیکھو کاش میں مہدی دوران کا زمانہ دیکھو کاش میں مہدی دوران پرچم حضرت عباس کو لہراتے ہوئے پرچم حضرت عباس کو لہراتے ہوئے میرے مالک میرے خالق سر کعبہ دیکھو کاش میں مہدی دوران کا زمانہ دیکھو کاش میں مہدی دوران صحن کعبہ سے نکلتا ہے جلوس عاشور صحن کعبہ سے نکلتا ہے جلوس عاشور اپنے اس خواب کو تعبیر میں ڈھلتا دیکھو کاش میں مہدی دوران کا زمانہ دیکھو کاش میں مہدی دوران أفضل الصلاة محمد وآل محمد. الہی ببیمار دشت بلا جو بیمار ہو جلد پاوے شفا. الہی برائے امام زمان ہمیں حول محشر سے دے تو امان. قیامت کو معشور ہو بعلی اٹھے قبر سے کہتے ہم یا علی. ہے 5 و9 مل چاہدہتن احمد و علی زہرا و حسن شبیر سے لے امام زمان. شبیر سے لے امام زمان ہر ایک پہ صلوات پڑھو صلوات صلوات و سلام یا امام زمان فرماؤ ظہور یا امام زمان صلوات.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء. السلام عليك يا خديجة الكبرى. السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بكيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا يجعله الله آخر لحظة مني زيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين وعلى 9 المعصومين من ذريتك علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد الحسن بن علي والحجة بن الحسن أجل الله فرجه سهل الله مخرجه ودهوره. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كل وليك الحجة بن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى عبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقاودا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعوا فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.